Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and in today's video we're going to be looking ahead to our Premier League match at the Vitality Stadium on Thursday evening against Bournemouth in the Premier League, in what should be a really interesting match, to be honest. Spurs go into this game off the back of a couple of frustrating performances and results. Bournemouth are coming into this game off the back of a convincing win at the weekend, and one that will give them some confidence as we go into this game. So I think, as always with Spurs games, it's kind of hard to kind of predict how we think this game's going to go. Obviously, one of the key things we don't know is what sort of Spurs performance we're going to get. Away from home, we really haven't been great, and Andrew's record with us so far in terms of away form needs a lot of work and leaves a lot to be desired, to be honest. So, like I say, again, predicting this game is going to be really tough. But let's have a look at the two sides first of all, and we'll start off with Spurs as we look at this game. So, from a Spurs point of view, I think we know obviously Vicario is injured. I don't think Romero will make this game. We know Van der Ven is out as well. And obviously Bentancur is still serving a suspension. So we know those players are out. What I do expect, though, is I expect Solanke to return. He was sent home the morning of the game against Fulham, but I think the view is that he's recovered from that illness now. So he'll return to the side. And if we look at the Spurs team, I think we'll probably find we go back. I think this will be the game where we go back to that team that beat Man City, with obviously the obvious change of Foster being in goal. So it'll be Foster in goal, Porro and Doggy, obviously Porro right back and Doggy left back. Dragusin and Davies will continue as that centre-half pairing. And we have to say they've been very good so far. In the last couple of games, I don't think they've done anything drastically wrong. Davies especially has been a standout player for us in the last couple of weeks. So they're going to keep the shirt. And no concerns there really with those two at the moment. Obviously, the bigger concerns come when we look at the wide positions, but we'll get into that in a little while. I think the midfield three will be Sarr, Maddison and Basuma. I think those three will be the midfield three that start the game. And then I do believe this week we'll see Kulusevski come in for Johnson, and then Solanke and Son as the front three. And I wouldn't be too disappointed with those changes at all. And I think that probably gives us the strongest lineup we can put out. And then obviously you've got the likes of Johnson and Werner that can come off the bench and maybe have some impact later in the game. So that's how I think Spurs will line up. Let's just have a little look at Bournemouth as a whole, as a team, as we do each week. So obviously, as we know, they play at the Vitality Stadium. Manager is Andoni Iraola, and I think he's been really impressive since he came into the Premier League with Bournemouth. They had a really sticky start in his first season, where I think after sort of 10 games, was actually looking at them really worrying about whether they'd actually survive or not. But then they found their feet and, were one of the surprise teams last year of how good they actually were. And obviously Solanke was a big part of that. He's scoring the goals he did, and they finished the season really strongly. And this year, they've kind of seemed to have started in the same vein. They've been a little bit hit and miss as their form shows over the last 5 games. They've drawn 1, won 2, lost 2. So again, they're another one of those sides in the Premier League at the moment that are struggling to find the real consistency, struggling to kind of maybe go 5, 6, 7 games where it's, draw, win, draw, win, draw. But there's a number of teams like that. And, they're coming up against one in Spurs this weekend as well. So, like I say, they've started the season reasonably for them. And if we look at league positions, Bournemouth are in 13th at the moment and Spurs sit in 7th. But as you can see in the next stat with the total points, Bournemouth are on 18 and Tottenham are on 20 points. So it kind of shows you the league is really open this year. Apart from maybe Liverpool, who are obviously running away with it, from second down, most teams are only within 2 to 3 points of one another. And, any team that can find themselves a bit of form and go on a run of form could really get themselves up the table and into that top four and have themselves a top four push, no problem at all. When we look at goals scored, Bournemouth have scored 20 goals and Tottenham this season have scored 28. So 8 apart there. Bournemouth don't score loads. I mean, this week, the weekend just gone, the 4 at Wolves was a massive, I don't think anyone would have gone for them scoring 4, especially away at Wolves and the sort of form that Wolves have shown over the last few games. So, but that was a bit of a standout from them. They don't normally blow teams away. Whereas, obviously, as we know with Spurs, we can have those games where we can get 4 in games. Done it against Villa, West Ham, Man City. We can have those spells where we can blow teams away, but not so much from a Bournemouth side of things. Now, the goals conceded is really interesting. Bournemouth have conceded 19 and Tottenham 14. So this does show that neither team is really solid defensively. And, while they can be reasonably exciting going forward, there's a lot to be desired in the way that both teams are defending. And I think this kind of encouraging for a neutral potentially going to watch this game, because I think you get the feeling there's going to be goals. Not so great if you're a spectator or a supporter of either of these teams, because you sit there thinking we are too open at the back and we do give too many chances away. But it should give Spurs some encouragement that Bournemouth, we can get at them. And if we've got our shooting boots on in this game, then there are goals to be had, because Bournemouth are not too solid. In the head-to-head over the last 3 games, Spurs have won 2 and Bournemouth have won 1 of them. And last season, obviously, we beat them in both games. And they were one of those teams we played early in the season under that sort of 10-game run where we went there and won convincingly. And again, at home, we got a solid win across the line. But this is an interesting game this evening, because Bournemouth at home have had some really good results. They've beaten Arsenal, they beat Man City at home, and I think they'll be feeling confident at home that they can go into this game and get a result. Now, one of their key players for them who will cause us problems on the night, and player that we really will have to watch out for, is Semenyo. He was injured in that game at Wolves at the weekend, but they think he'll be back for this game. He will cause us real problems in those fullback positions, especially knowing that obviously Spurs leave a lot of space behind both their fullbacks that teams can exploit. So I expect him to cause us some problems. He's a great dribbler of the football, great going forward. And again, one of those players that when he picks the ball up, we'll be sitting there thinking, this could be trouble. Obviously, they've got Evan Nielsen up front as well, who's come in and adapted really well to the Premier League so far, and he's been really dangerous. So again, we'll have to watch him. Davies and Dragusin will have their hands full with him. You've obviously got Kluivert coming off the back of a hat-trick of penalties, so he'll be in really good form and feeling confident. So again, we'll have to watch him as well. This is a really tricky game, to be honest, and one where I think this will be interesting to see whether Spurs can find something to be able to go away from home and kind of put in a decent performance, and even if need be, just grind out a draw. If you said now we take a point away from there at Bournemouth tomorrow night, I'd snap your hand off for it, because I think a draw there is not a bad result this season. And then obviously you need to make the most of your home games, which Spurs haven't been doing at the moment. So in terms of prediction for this game, I think both teams can score. I think we've seen there, like I say, the goals conceded. Both teams give chances away, and I think both teams will score. And I'm actually going to go for a 2-2 draw in this game. I think we can get at Bournemouth and score, but I'm just afraid that I think they'll take advantage of our weakness at the back and they'll get a couple. So I'm going to go 2-2 draw. Wouldn't be the worst result, though. I think if we can get a point from there, I'll be happy. And then it's about just starting to make sure we have that consistency in our home games and we can go to these difficult places like Bournemouth and pick up points. Obviously, the next game at home will be Chelsea after that. we'll have a review and we'll discuss that game before that happens. But let's get let's get this game over and done with, and let's make sure we come away with nothing less than a point. And then maybe we can start to see that we can get some consistency. Because, like I say, the league is there. Any team that can put in some consistent performances this year can get themselves up within that top four. And Spurs, really, with the team that we've got, should be looking to be in that mix and in that fight for top four. Anyway, let's hope we put in a good performance. Come on, you Spurs. See you on the next video.